Okay, Kermit.
Yes,
so,
sir. Billy, nice to see you.
Good to see you.
You know, while you were waiting, I looked over and I swear I thought it was Johnny Depp.
Yo ho, yo ho.
I wish.
Do you get that a lot?
No, but
Well, in the dark.
My wife would like to hear that.
Understand. Yeah, so would Miss Piggy. She'd love it if I were a bit more like Johnny, but you know, we can't all be Johnny Depp.
It's been 12 years. It was 12 years between Muppets from Space and the Muppets, and now you're right back into it. Just 3 years to putting together Muppets Most Wanted.
Yeah.
The nostalgia, I guess, kicks in with the first film. It's been so long since you guys are together doing a movie.
Right.
But with the sequel, do you find it's easy to kind of get back into the groove, or do you find that over time, you know, some people may have changed over that space, and the working is a little different than it was back in the day?
Well, you know, it's very different. Things have changed a lot since we did something like Muppets from Space. These days, when you shoot a film, it's not on film anymore. Nobody uses film, hardly. They all shoot on high-def video these days. That's the difference. It makes no difference to me, but it's a difference. The food's better in England. It's a lot better. That's a good thing. Back in the 80s, I'm not going to get into detail because I love the British, but the food ain't so good, folks. That's changed. But yes, no, I'm sure the audience has changed as well. But you know, we've been around all that time, even though we hadn't made a movie. And so we've sort of tried to keep up with the times ourselves.
It's in the movie you kind of mentioned you know, finding a half decent plot in order to kind of proceed with the sequel. Were there, I guess, other viable contenders that were in the running that you turned down or didn't seem right in order to do kind of this world tour caper?
Well, you know, I set out to find a half decent plot, and we did it. I didn't come out right. It was better than half. It was like 3/4 decent. No, you know, there's always lots of contenders and lots of people to please, and it's a whole committee who decides these things. But I quite like this one. And I will venture to say, and I'm not offending anybody because the same team did this film too, I actually like Muppets Most Wanted better than the other one. Except Jason didn't work with us, and that was wonderful. Jason and Amy. But this is more of a caper, and we go on this silly adventure. And I had a lot of fun.
Obviously, there's some movie magic, and there's some question about whether you are Constantine or there is another frog that's playing Constantine.
Right.
So, do you do double duty in being Constantine?
No, I do not. That's a very valid question. I understand the confusion. We are both green, although I do not see the resemblance between us at all. You know, I just want to clear it up. I want people to know there is no movie magic there. He is a separate frog altogether. A friend of mine from the swamp, he's actually a distant cousin who happens to speak with a Russian accent.
Well, how interesting is that casting process then, to kind of go through people that need to try to look like you and behave like you? Is that kind of weird to see, I guess, this exaggerated Kermit, you know, kind of using your catchphrases, using your behaviors, but in a bad way purposefully?
Well, you know, it's oddly okay. It's oddly all right because being a frog, you see, I grew up in the swamp surrounded by lots of other frogs that look almost exactly like me. So I'm used to that part. But, you know, I mean, I don't mind if it's part of the plot. You know, he has to use my catchphrases. I am not offended by that at all. It's only a movie. It's only a movie.
Does Miss Piggy get irked that that kind of these potential marriage gets used as a plot point periodically, but in real life you don't seem to get any closer to?
You're a very insightful fellow.
Thank you.
She gets irked about many things. That being only one small part of her irkiness. In fact, I sometimes refer to it as your irkiness. It happens. But yes, it was a constant, like at the end of a scene, they'd say, cut. She'd lean over to me and say, this is what I've been talking about. You know, so yeah, it can be tough.
You're a very humble guy, and everybody always wants to work with the Muppets. This is actually the first interview I've ever done where I've actually been legitimately nervous.
Oh my goodness!
But do you get nervous at all? Do you get starstruck with people that come in to work with the Muppets? Has there been one time where you were like, "Wow, I can't believe that I, Kermit, am working with this person"?
Well, you know, I find that most of the big Hollywood stars that come to work with us are happy to be there, so it's not so bad. But I will say that Ty Burrell, who pictured in the center there, plays a French Interpol kind of police guy in this thing, an investigator, a detective. And I got a little nervous when he was on set because he stayed in character the whole time. He was always speaking French. And being a frog, I would get a little nervous around the French. Nothing personal.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Kermit.
Well, you have to be careful when you go to countries where you are an appetizer.
I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, be careful.
All right, thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome. Nice to work with you.
Good to work with you.
Okay.
All right.